Hello and welcome, Ulf Riebesell and Manita Chouksey. Ulf Riebesell, you are a professor, you are project leader of Project CUSCO, and also the spokesperson for the three projects CUSCO, IFA, and REEBUS. And Manita Chouksey, you are a scientist, a modeler in Project REEBUS. Welcome. It's very nice to have both of you here.
Thank you for inviting on.
Thank you for having us.
So this is an interesting episode for me because I've started working with all of you and in science, and I realized, because I've been in other jobs before, wow, science is somehow different from other jobs that I've been working in before. There's so many people that seem to be rather playful, you know? It's like I'm surrounded by people that like to just have a head full of crazy ideas. They have a certain unwillingness sometimes to follow rules in a very charming way, to be honest, but still it's something that I noticed. And I wondered, yeah, is this true?
There are a lot of stereotypes that you just listed there. I don't think it's all true, but it's certainly the case that science selects for a certain type of people. And you're right, these people are in a way playful. They are what I would call curiosity driven. They just like to explore things, to get to the ground of things. They certainly are able to question authority. I mean, that's the essence of science. You don't just believe, you test, you check, you verify and falsify. That's the essence of science. So it kind of selects for people that are kind of like non-conformity. It's not, you don't fit in a box. It's out of passion. I mean, we love to continue learning and learning about nature or learning about our field of science. That's what makes this job so very different from many other jobs.
You are a professor, so I think your opinion about this topic may actually, come with a lot of experience in the world of science. So to me, it seemed when I started working in science that it's sometimes a bit like, well, it resembled like Peter Pan, so to say, you know, this idea of never growing up and always remaining young at heart. And I wondered, is this something that may also come with young age? Because many scientists, they study and then afterwards they, well, actually are scientists in an institute like GEOMAR, for instance. And with meaning they are also not too old, obviously. Or is this something that's actually really the people themselves? And I think you can give us, as a professor who has spent quite some time in science, maybe a good opinion about that.
Well, staying young at heart or young at mind is definitely kind of a good thing if you're in science. But I mean, we should be realistic. I mean, staying in science is a very selective process. There are so many talents and so many, abilities needed to be successful in science. And there's a very strict selection process on the way. It takes many talents to actually make it into a permanent position in science, may it be a professorship or a permanent position at a research institution. And that learning curve is quite steep for all scientists. So it may seem like, wow, these people can stay childish and live their life for their whole profession, but it is demanding at the same time. It's rewarding, it's extremely rewarding, but it's very demanding at the same time as well. It's a process that is needed. It's not always seen in the young scientists what is still ahead of them, how much selection is going on, and how many talents have to come together to make it in science, and the sacrifices that you have to be willing to make. I mean, with all those privileges that you have, and with all those rewards that you get from your work, there's also sacrifices you have to make.
I actually am slowly getting aware of the sacrifices and the kind of environment that you actually get into, or that you should know that you're getting what you're getting yourself into if you want yourself to be in long-term science environment. But what I would say is that it doesn't have to be like that. It would be nicer if science, professional scientific environment can be made a little bit more friendly. If you want to spend more time with your family and friends, which is not a bad thing to do, but if you want to do that, then science is just not for you. Then this is not very healthy, I think. So there should be some thought that should go into it.
So science is actually very strict and competitive in a way. This is what you just described. And I also see that there are many rules. There's a lot of preciseness asked from a scientist. And they have to be persistent, competitive. They have to show excellence. So in a way, this is so contradictory to this idea of curiosity and playfulness. So how does this go together?
It works nicely together. I mean, as I said, you need many talents. The concept or the preconception that people may have of scientists kind of hiding in their lab and doing their stuff, or hiding behind the computers and kind of not communicating, that's completely wrong. As a scientist today, you have to be very good in communication, because none of the sciences we do just happens with one discipline. Science is not just, playful in the sense, well, we all have crazy ideas, but it also has a very strict procedure. In science, we can have and should have crazy ideas, and come up with concepts. But these concepts are alive only until falsified.
So you would say we can only go to the moon if first we dream of going to the moon. So the idea itself is not crazy. It's rather about making it possible.
Good example with dreaming of the moon. There's this one saying that I like very much: make no small plans, there's no magic in them.
This certain thing that I observed in scientists, that they may sometimes come with an unwillingness to follow rules. Would you say that this may also really be a part of this scientific thing, that they have to question authority, and that this may be just something they bring?
I think that there's even a certain selection in the career process for people that are willing to question authority, that feel strong enough to do that. I mean, what we're looking for in science is people who can think out of the box. I mean, we all think we have understood a certain thing, and usually we kind of work ourselves in that box. But actually what you want is ideas that go out of this box. So you have to be able to be critical about what concepts we have there, and ask the right questions to actually test those concepts again and again. And that doesn't stop with your work. Of course, I mean, if you're used to this kind of questioning authority, questioning certain social standards, then you very often also take that into your private life. So it may give the impression scientists are actually kind of very non-conformist people, and that's not needed to be non-conformist, but I think there's a certain selection process in the career path for people, I would say, thinking out of the box.
So Manita, what I wanted to ask you, this idea of a scientist never really growing up. You are a modeler, so you work in physics, and I wonder how much is this playfulness that I witness in scientists a thing of the field? So is it something that I can only see in biologists or environmentalists? Or would you say, no, this is actually a rather general thing, and physicists have it just as well?
In my experience, I wouldn't say that playfulness is a you can characterize the entire field with it, but maybe there are some general characteristics that you can draw from a section of people working in a certain field. But I'm a modeler, so in my working group, I also see other modelers, other physicists, so other theoretical oceanographers, and some even more deep into theory than I am. And and that just within that range of people, I also see people who are not playful at all, and some who are playful. I think it's probably individual characteristic, also because I think people, so scientists are also people, and as individuals, they also come from different backgrounds. They have different upbringing, they have different experiences. So that might affect or influence how playful they are, or how lightly they take things, or what is their perspective to different things.
Would you say it is a necessary quality for a scientist?
I think it doesn't hurt to be a little playful. I mean, tends to get serious. Tends to get serious science. So you need some kind of playfulness at times, to kind of ease the tension sometimes, or to go out of your zone, a little bit, just to go out of your zone. For me, it's definitely necessary.
I would replace playful by curiosity driven. That's what it takes. I think you have to be curious about the world around yourself. And you have to have the ability to focus in on a certain aspect of that world. I mean, you will never understand the entire world. I mean, that's why we interact with so many other scientists around the world in many other disciplines to get a better grab of a larger picture. But even for the small piece of the puzzle that we as scientists, as individuals are working on, you need to be curious about it. Otherwise, why spend so much time looking into it?
You said if it's necessary to keep your inner child, but I was motivated to be in science, inspired to be in science since I was a child, because I had these questions, and I always thought I want to be a scientist one day. So I think yes, and in the context of curiosity, it's if that's not there, then I don't know what else is. So of course that is the essence, and I think there's stress, there's a lot of work. Sometimes it's not always encouraging and motivating, but it is this curiosity to learn new things, to solve new problems, and to figure out how you can add to the knowledge, or actually not just add to the knowledge of the community, but also enhance your knowledge, or figure out how things work. I think that's what uh, keeps us going, keeps me going.
One could say that this stereotype of a scientist never ever growing up and remaining Peter Pan, that this is rather something, it may seem like that, but behind that lies actually a lot of persistence, a lot of, being able to deal with, I don't know, situations that just don't work out, with being in a competitive field, and that in a way, just this curiosity and this, maybe sometimes also being a bit questioning authorities, stuff like that's actually an essential part of being able to do all this.
My perspective to this would be that actually science has a lot of different aspects to it, particularly like being in a profession, like professional scientists. So of course, at the essence of it, you have the curiosity to find new things, you do the research. Then there are all these aspects, as you said, there's competitiveness with the peers, and then of course to kind of I'm not sure proving yourself is the right phrase, but in a way to keep up with your career for future prospects, and to, I don't know, like rise high in your career. So there are different aspects to it, and it can get overwhelming as well. But as I said, like with all these things, it is this curiosity, and this desire to this quest to discover new things, to find answers to the questions. For me, it's the thing that keeps me going is this excitement. So what excites me? Because that's what keeps me alive in a way. And the fact that you said that scientists never ever grow up. I mean, there is one aging, which you see in biology, so aging in your body and changes and all that. But there is one thing which is mind. So what I really like about this profession is it's all about the mind, to read new things, to find new things. So in that sense, you're always basically the same, right? Because you're always just wanting to learn new things, and not that you say, okay, fine, I'm old enough, I cannot do anything. So it's not like that. And this is actually very inspiring to also look at very senior professors, even the ones who have retired, who are still working and like still coming up with new problems. And sometimes I'm amazed by the energy that they have. And then age ceases to matter.
I love that sentence that Manita just said. I mean, you're always, you may age physically, but in mind you stay young. I think that's a very nice picture of what science allows you to do, staying young at mind. And in fact, I mean, I see that among my colleagues. I'm in the age group where people start to retire, but retirement is not something that scientists necessarily look forward to, because their job, their profession is not a job. It's a passion. As a scientist, you learn not to give up. I mean, you're just, I mean, it's the passion and the curiosity that allows you to continue on that path.
You mentioned persistence, and so tolerance and patience is really important. And also, along with curiosity, so the essence of this entire profession or being in science is learning, because you learn always. But this happens like all the time. It's not only in PhD or in student phase, it happens all the time. But that's the process of science. You have to try. There's a hypothesis, there's a logic, there is an equation or something. There's a process that tells you this path can lead somewhere, but maybe it doesn't. But you have to try it out. And even like I know professors who are retired and they're still eager to learn from even like bachelor students or master students, young students. And even though you think you learn something, it just tells you that you need to learn more, not that you have learned enough, but that there's so much that you don't know.
So lifelong learning, in a way, one could say that is something that keeps one young, so to say. I think that for many people, this may not necessarily be a thing, lifelong learning. I think it's something one actively decides for. And therefore, that may also be a big part of this impression that scientists can be quite, I don't know, young at heart, like I said, and remain young over long periods of time. I wonder if this is something that may be also specific for a country. So both of you have experiences with other countries or a variety of countries and science in those countries. So what would you say, Manita? Is this something that is specific for a certain country, the way how scientists seem to be so curious and maybe young? Or would you say that this is actually a thing of science, no matter where?
I would go with the second option that you said. I think it's more prevalent that way. But I think, I mean, that's kind of the fundamentals of how science should work. But that's not always the case, because if you go to different countries, the work culture is different. And then they're also governed by different rules or different way of organization, administration in different countries. So I think that may have effect on the scientist, because that kind of dictates the work culture. So I've worked at places where the work culture is more rigorous. But yeah, I've met with people who are playful in all the work cultures, even if it's very rigorous. So they all have, I think, some playful sides to it. Maybe sometimes it's suppressed by the work culture or pressures, and at some places you just have the opportunity to see it more.
So Ulf, what would you say? You are far traveled. This idea of a scientist being, well, curiosity driven, playful, and even maybe questioning authority. How possible is that in other countries? Is this something that is a privilege in certain countries, and therefore we can see it and consider it a scientific thing?
I think in the young people that I've met all around the world, it was quite uniform in the sense that they were curiosity driven. They were questioning certain concepts. They were playful. They were passionate about their work. They were excited talking about what they found out. I think that's very common. I think science attracts this type of people. The difference comes when you go up in the age structure. As you get older, in some systems, there's the flexibility of just remaining in that attitude. And some systems are a lot more hierarchical, and that kind of is working against science. Hierarchy is not necessarily helping in being kind of questioning authority. If a strong hierarchy is an accepted framework, then you may not be able to be as critical, as questioning, as authority questioning as in a society that allows more flexibility in this sense.
So do you want to add anything?
I would, as an advice to the young scientist, I would always say, just do what you enjoy to do, and that will make you good at it. If you're passionate about it, there will always be opportunities in science. Stop worrying. There's always a path, and there's always an opportunity.
Manita Chouksey from Project REEBUS and Ulf Riebesell from Project CUSCO. Thanks for being here. Very interesting talk with you.